The Dardanians, like many ancient civilizations, had a well-defined social structure that influenced every aspect of their daily lives. Subscribing is free, but it might just make you 10% cooler. This hierarchy was not just about power, but also about responsibilities, roles, and contributions to the community. At the top of this structure was the royal family, whose members were considered not only leaders but also mediators between the divine and the mortal realms. Their authority was both political and spiritual, emphasizing the inseparability of governance and religion in Dardanian culture. Beneath the royal family were the nobility, comprising warriors, landowners, and influential tribal leaders. These individuals held considerable power within their respective communities and were instrumental in maintaining order, organizing raids or defensive strategies, and ensuring the prosperity of their lands. Nobles were often rewarded with gifts, lands, and ceremonial roles, cementing their loyalty to the king and their position within society. Their participation in decision-making councils reflected the semi-democratic nature of governance among the Dardanians. The common people formed the backbone of Dardanian society. Farmers, herders, artisans, and merchants contributed to the economy and stability of the kingdom. Farmers cultivated crops such as wheat and barley, while herders raised livestock, which were vital for food and trade. Craftsmen produced tools, weapons, and ornaments, while merchants facilitated the exchange of goods with neighboring tribes and distant markets. Their contributions ensured that the Dardanian kingdom thrived, even in the face of external pressures. Hit subscribe, and you might just unlock a secret about this channel. At the bottom of the social structure were slaves and war captives, who performed labor-intensive tasks such as building fortifications, working in mines, or serving in wealthy households. Despite their low status, slaves were an integral part of the Dardanian economy and infrastructure. Unlike in some other ancient societies, there is evidence to suggest that Dardanians allowed for the possibility of slaves gaining their freedom, particularly if they displayed exceptional loyalty or skill. This flexibility demonstrated a level of humanity within their social framework. Governance among the Dardanians was a complex interplay of monarchy and tribal council. The king, as the supreme ruler, was both a warrior and a diplomat. His responsibilities extended beyond the battlefield to include the negotiation of alliances, the resolution of tribal disputes, and the safeguarding of his people's well-being. The king was often chosen for his leadership qualities, military prowess, and lineage, with succession typically following hereditary lines, although merit could also play a significant role. Advising the king was a council of elders and tribal leaders who represented the various clans and regions of the kingdom. This council played a crucial role in decision-making, particularly on matters of war, trade, and diplomacy. Their input ensured that the king's actions reflected the collective interests of the tribes, rather than solely his own ambitions. This collaborative approach to governance was vital in maintaining unity within the diverse and often fractious Dardanian kingdom. Leadership at the local level was vested in chieftains, who managed day-to-day affairs within their territories. These leaders were responsible for enforcing laws, collecting tributes, and organizing communal projects such as fortification building or irrigation. Chieftains were also expected to lead their people in times of conflict, demonstrating their strength and commitment to the community. Their dual role as administrators and warriors made them indispensable to the kingdom's stability. The Dardanians also recognized the importance of religious and cultural leadership. Priests and priestesses held significant sway, guiding spiritual practices and preserving cultural traditions. Their role in interpreting omens and mediating between the gods and the people added another layer to the governance structure, blending spiritual authority with political power. This integration ensured that religion remained a unifying force within the kingdom. For the Dardanians, warfare was both a necessity and a way of life. Situated in a region prone to invasions and conflicts, the Dardanians developed a warrior culture that emphasized strength, resilience, and strategic prowess. Their military campaigns were not only about defending their territory, but also about expanding their influence, acquiring resources and asserting dominance over rival tribes. The Dardanian army was composed of skilled warriors, many of whom were trained from a young age. Weaponry such as swords, spears, and axes, often forged by Dardanian craftsmen, reflected their expertise in metallurgy. Archers and cavalry added versatility to their forces, allowing them to adapt to different combat scenarios. The Dardanians' use of guerrilla tactics, ambushes, and swift raids showcased their understanding of the terrain and their ability to outmaneuver larger or better-equipped enemies. Warriors held a revered status in Dardanian society, symbolizing courage and honor. Successful leaders and fighters often received rewards in the form of land, livestock, or spoils of war. Their exploits were celebrated in songs and stories, ensuring that their legacy endured. This veneration of warriors reinforced the martial values that were central to Dardanian identity, inspiring future generations to uphold these traditions. Despite their aggressive reputation, the Dardanians also engaged in diplomacy and alliances when it suited their interests. Marriages between tribal leaders, treaties with neighboring kingdoms, and agreements for mutual defense demonstrated their pragmatism. These alliances often provided periods of stability, allowing the Dardanians to consolidate their power and focus on internal development. Warfare and diplomacy, therefore, were two sides of the same coin in their quest for survival and prosperity. The strategic location of the Dardanian kingdom necessitated the construction of formidable fortifications to protect against invasions. Hill forts, known as gradinas, were a hallmark of Dardanian defensive architecture. These elevated settlements provided natural advantages, with steep slopes and commanding views of the surrounding landscape, making them difficult to assault. Gradinas were often surrounded by stone walls, reinforced with wooden palisades or earthworks for added protection. The walls were built using locally sourced materials, reflecting the Dardanians' resourcefulness and connection to their environment. Gates and watchtowers were strategically placed to monitor and control access, while cisterns and granaries within the forts ensured that the inhabitants could withstand prolonged sieges. These fortifications were not just military strongholds, but also centers of community and administration. Inside the walls, dwellings, workshops, and temples created a self-sufficient environment. The layout of these settlements reflected the Dardanians' prioritization of defense and communal living, with narrow pathways and clustered buildings minimizing vulnerability to attack. These settlements were hubs of activity, fostering a sense of unity among their inhabitants. Beyond their physical defenses, the Dardanians' knowledge of the terrain played a crucial role in their strategy. They utilized natural features such as rivers, forests, and mountains to create barriers against invaders. The strategic placement of their settlements ensured that they could control key trade routes and monitor enemy movements. This combination of fortifications and geographical awareness made the Dardanians a formidable presence in the Balkans. The Dardanians were not only fierce warriors, but also adept traders, who established extensive networks across the Balkans and beyond. Their strategic position allowed them to act as intermediaries between Northern Europe, the Aegean, and the Adriatic regions. These trade networks were vital for the kingdom's economic prosperity and cultural exchange, fostering relationships with neighboring tribes and distant civilizations. One of the key commodities in Dardanian trade was precious metals. The region was rich in resources such as gold, silver, and iron, which were highly sought after by other cultures. Dardanian artisans crafted fine jewelry, weapons, and tools, showcasing their metallurgical expertise. These goods were traded for essential items like salt, olive oil, and luxury products from the Mediterranean, which were scarce in their homeland. Livestock also played a significant role in Dardanian trade. Cattle, sheep, and horses were not only a source of wealth, but also a symbol of status. The exchange of livestock reinforced alliances and served as a form of currency in regional trade. Horses, in particular, were prized for their role in warfare and transportation, making them a valuable export. The Dardanians' expertise in animal husbandry further enhanced their reputation as skilled traders. In addition to material goods, the Dardanians facilitated the exchange of ideas, technology, and culture. Contacts with Greek colonies, Illyrian tribes, and Thracian neighbors introduced new agricultural techniques, artistic styles, and religious practices to the Dardanians. This cultural synthesis enriched their society and contributed to the dynamism of the Balkan region during this era. Religion was deeply intertwined with every aspect of Dardanian life, shaping their worldview and cultural identity. Their spiritual practices reflected a blend of indigenous beliefs and influences from neighboring cultures. Central to their religion was the worship of nature and its elements, which they viewed as manifestations of divine power. Sacred groves, rivers, and mountains served as sites of worship, emphasizing their reverence for the natural world. The Dardanians believed in a pantheon of deities that governed various aspects of life, including fertility, war, and the harvest. Their gods and goddesses were often depicted as anthropomorphic figures embodying the values and challenges of their society. Rituals and ceremonies were conducted to honor these deities, with offerings of food, animals, and crafted goods ensuring divine favor. Priests and priestesses played a crucial role in mediating between the people and the gods, interpreting omens and leading communal worship. Burial practices among the Dardanians provide insight into their beliefs about the afterlife. Tombs and burial mounds were often adorned with personal belongings, weapons, and ornaments, suggesting a belief in an existence beyond death. The care with which these items were arranged indicates the importance of honoring the dead and ensuring their safe passage to the afterlife. Such practices also reinforced social hierarchies, as the wealthiest individuals were buried with the most elaborate offerings. Festivals and communal gatherings were another integral part of Dardanian religion. These events celebrated seasonal cycles, victories in battle, and milestones in the community's life. Music, dance, and feasting created a sense of unity and joy, reaffirming the bonds between individuals, their tribe, and the divine. Through these practices, the Dardanians maintained a strong connection to their heritage and spirituality. The cultural identity of the Dardanians was a rich tapestry woven from their traditions, environment, and interactions with other civilizations. Art and craftsmanship were central to their cultural expression, reflecting their values, beliefs, and social structures. From intricate jewelry to imposing statues, Dardanian art served both functional and symbolic purposes, demonstrating their creativity and skill. Metalwork was a hallmark of Dardanian craftsmanship. Gold and silver ornaments adorned both men and women, signifying wealth and status. Weapons were not only tools of war, but also works of art, often decorated with intricate patterns and motifs. These items were traded with neighboring tribes and cultures, spreading Dardanian artistry far beyond their homeland and cementing their reputation as master craftsmen. Textiles also played an important role in Dardanian culture. Women were skilled weavers who created vibrant fabrics for clothing, ceremonial use, and trade. Patterns and colors varied between tribes, reflecting regional identities and personal tastes. These textiles were often embellished with beads and embroidery, adding further layers of beauty and symbolism to their garments. Music, poetry, and oral storytelling were integral to preserving Dardanian history and traditions. Bards recounted tales of heroism, mythology, and everyday life, ensuring that the collective memory of the Dardanians endured across generations. Musical instruments such as lyres, flutes, and drums accompanied these stories, creating a rich auditory experience. This emphasis on oral culture allowed the Dardanians to maintain their identity even in the face of external influences. The legacy of the Dardanians is one of resilience, creativity, and cultural richness. Despite the challenges posed by their environment, neighboring tribes, and external invaders, the Dardanians carved out a distinct identity that left a lasting impact on the Balkans. Their contributions to warfare, trade, and art continue to be celebrated, offering valuable insights into the ancient world. The Dardanians' military prowess established them as a formidable force in the region. Their ability to adapt to changing circumstances, whether through alliances or innovations in warfare, ensured their survival and influence. This resilience inspired neighboring tribes and later civilizations, shaping the dynamics of power in the Balkans. Culturally, the Dardanians' artistic and spiritual practices enriched the heritage of the region. Their craftsmanship, particularly in metalwork and textiles, set a standard of excellence that influenced neighboring cultures. The fusion of indigenous traditions with external influences created a unique cultural identity that continues to fascinate historians and archaeologists. The Dardanians' legacy also lies in their role as connectors in the ancient world. Their trade networks and diplomatic relations facilitated the exchange of goods, ideas, and technologies, fostering a sense of interconnectedness in the Balkans. This legacy of exchange and interaction highlights the importance of the Dardanians in shaping the region's historical narrative.